BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hi everyone, it's Gordon Ramsay here. Now, I'm not sure why, but for some reason, Crouchy has asked me to provide the strong language warning for his podcast. So, here we go. Dear listeners, the following podcast will definitely contain some strong language and adult themes. So, if you don't like it, you can off.
Crouchy P on the MIC. We're doing this not for free, we're doing it for the massive.
Got to bash out a quick Mike Dean slaughters chickens in the local park.
Was it David or was it David?
No, not that phrase. the one that David said to you.
I don't want to do that.
That's why I've asked you the question.
Pancake. Pancake.
Who is the Pancake of the Premier League?
That should be on the start, I reckon. Everyone's got a Fernando Torres. Hello and welcome to That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch, Chris Stark and Tom Fordyce are here. You right, boys?
It's always nice to be back with you boys. And I'm looking forward to this one because this is a topic very close to Crouchy's heart, isn't it? But Chris, down to podcast business, what is the story with the billboard?
Right, boys, I'm sending photos to our WhatsApp group right now of the billboard that
The one on Bond Street?
Yeah, the one I was told was going to be Bond Street, London. Now, I may have messed up slightly. Crouchy, why are you laughing so hard?
I can't control it.
Have you seen the picture?
I've seen it. It's done me. It's unbelievable.
Now, that I'm afraid, lads, is Bond Street in Blackpool.
That is like a dead-end street.
Well, this is how dead end the street is. Right? The building opposite is bricked up. There's a massive pile of horse shit on the road. Directly outside, the only vehicle visible on Bond Street is someone driving a horse and cart.
Man. It's a pink horse and cart.
Yeah.
So, two fellas, oh my God. There's not one house. There's not even people could look out their window and see it because the houses are boarded up.
Yeah. So I misunderstood. And that's why there was a slight delay to proceedings with this billboard, just because there was some confusion around exactly the location that we were discussing on the podcast and the location that my contact with the billboards was actually arranging for us. But I think it's good positioning if you clearly there's footfall there.
To be fair, it is huge.
Yeah, that's on the side of someone's house, from what I understand.
Did you pay top dollar for this, Chris? What was the...
So anyway, the update is the billboard is up that we've been talking about in other podcasts. I managed to secure advertising on one billboard, and Crouchy designed it, which is
looks
amazing.
Good though. It does look good.
The image looks great.
We knew
really
what the
good.
picture was that was going up, but you guys obviously didn't, because we wanted it to be a surprise for you, for anyone travelling through Bond Street. Now, I would argue actually this is a better location.
It's not great, Chris.
No,
no.
Yeah. But
it's
your work. It's your work on a billboard.
Surprisingly, I'm quite proud. It's that weird. As bad as it is, and location-wise, it probably could have got more eyeballs on it. But
I think it's more us, though, isn't it? Isn't this
fantastic.
Whole thing more us?
I'm really pleased.
The image you've drawn, Crouchy, has translated beautifully to billboard status, is what I'd say. I think the key messages that we looked at getting across are working for me in the larger format.
Yeah,
it's a really good billboard.
I'm pleased with it. I think I'm getting all the key messages in there.
If you are searching for the billboard, and you can, rules allowing and all that, it's round the back of the Pleasure Beach. From what I can see with the photos, just follow the horse shit.
If you see a pink horse and cart with two fellas on it,
yeah, follow the cart. Follow the cart.
I don't know if we should be surprised by this, but Gordon Ramsay did seem very angry in a very Gordon Ramsay way, given that swear warning.
I think it was exactly what I was looking for, really. Quick, to the point, quite rude. Perfect.
It was textbook Ramsay. It was almost like an impression of Gordon Ramsay. It was just perfect. If you want a swear warning from Gordon Ramsay, that's it. Bish, bash, bosh. I quite like the speed of it. Also, we should give a shout out to the new kind of start to this podcast.
We had to have pancake in there. It's been a highlight for me.
Do you reckon there's a football manager that's encouraging pancakes, or sort of it gets into the general terminology of a football team? It'd be good to know.
It might be that when an agent is pushing a player on a manager, and he's looking for that little thing just to tip the deal his way, he might say, he's got a pancake in his locker.
Right, left-footed. Pancakes for fun.
Chris, any more developments on stuff you've been looking at for us?
Yeah, no, I've been really busy. Do you remember in the last episode we offered the opportunity for our listeners to send in their ideas, and then we could put them to Deborah Meaden from Dragon's Den because she's our favourite dragon since she did the swear warning. What's brilliant here, boys, is a few guys have been in touch with their ideas, and this could be where we start to earn a bit of money from this podcast.
Yeah, nice.
I'm ready to go, mate. Yeah, just, any ideas?
Yep, I'll just rattle through them. Message from Kyle says, what about an app where you can log in when sitting on the toilet and you can chat to other people doing the same thing at the same time?
What would you call it? Poo tube?
Poo tube.
Call it shitter. Simplify it.
Yeah.
Shit book.
Shit book. That's just Facebook with face taken off and shit put in front of it.
Shit book.
Doesn't even rhyme.
Oh, let's get Zuckerberg on. Can we get Zuckerberg for the pod?
Okay.
What's crap? I think we can make any of them work.
What's crap's good.
So we've got what's crap, shitter, poo tube, and
shitter.
What are the other projects that have been pushed to us?
Message from Adam. I want to create a onesie with a pouch around each major muscle for a removable, microwavable hot water bottle. Perfect for post-game recovery. It will help tired players come back stronger.
Would it not be better with ice?
We don't have to say yes to them all. Message from Luke. What about an app that ranks the toilets of venues across the country? You could rank layout, individual cubicles, cleanliness, and length of queues at peak times.
I think Shitbook's the best so far.
This sounds like it's sort of like a secondary rollout, like version 2.0. You could build in some of that functionality. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Lewis has been on. Hello, Lewis. He says, if we have a steak knife, why can't we have a chicken knife? Each hand of the knife can be a different figure of Mike Dean through the ages. I'm yet to think of a quirky name, but the advert is Mike Dean cutting chicken off the bone with one of his knives. He looks straight down the camera, smirks, and says, off you pop.
You know what this needs to be called, boys? You'll be familiar with George Foreman's, is it the Lean Mean grilling machine?
Yeah.
If this knife needs a name, why don't we call this the Mean Dean slicing machine?
Oh.
Yes, now we're talking.
Yeah, did that work?
Now we're talking. I feel like the advert is better than the actual product.
It's all stuff to think about anyway. Keep them coming in, I guess.
Maybe by the end of the series, we could have a dossier of our favourites to take to Deborah Meaden. Speaking of dragons, we were talking about how other dragons might feel about the Ronaldo v Messi debate.
Yes, right. So I DM'd a couple of the dragons after we'd had a couple of beers on the other podcast, and one of them replied, Theo Perfetus replied. We'll just get his message. I just put Messi or Ronaldo. He put Ronaldo all day long and a thumbs up, which is different to what you thought he would go for, Crouchy. You said he would be more a Messi guy.
Yeah. I thought he'd appreciate the sort of more naturally gifted footballer, but considering he's had to work very hard at business and to become a dragon and to become so successful, I think he appreciates the hard work, the grit, determination to build a business, to build a footballer, and resonates with Ronaldo.
Is there anyone else you'd like me to ask the Messi or Ronaldo question to, or like a theme of people? It doesn't just have to be dragons.
Could you ask Messi and Ronaldo?
That's a great idea. Has anyone done it? Has no one done that question to them?
Who's better? Ask Messi who's better.
It's worth doing, isn't it?
You know what we should do? Just have a debate. We just got Ronaldo and Messi just to have a go at each other about.
Let's go toe to toe.
Just go toe to toe. You know when they do the gloves are off. Let's do Messi and Ronaldo and just like let them go at each other and say, well, I've scored more goals than you in the Champions League, but I've scored more goals than you in La Liga. That'd be box office, wouldn't it?
That'd be huge.
It would be massive. Like, do you know what's mad is like this question will have to get settled somehow. It's just how can you settle that? Because it is purely opinion, isn't it? But it does feel like there's got to be some way of getting a conclusion on it.
Like a presidential debate, you mean? Like they have in the US?
Yeah, exactly like that. Yeah.
And then we vote. We have a global vote. And then they sign something before that the winner of this vote is crowned the best player who's ever lived. Yeah. You know, like when you lose and you have to say you're the loser, you have to go like, I'm the second best player in the world.
Could we have it done, results announced, CNN style, where they're going sort of county by county?
And also, it's just so good. Like, imagine having something where it's not like an election or something like that, but same vibe. But it's just deciding whether Messi or Ronaldo is the best player of all time. Like,
You could get like the swingometer, couldn't you? Like the graphics, you'd see different parts of the world. Like, one part's turning red for Portugal, the other's turning like blue and white for Argentina. Brazil's gone for Portugal, not surprising. Okay, who next? Spain, bang. Spain's gone for Messi.
but it's such a good idea, and I think we should start small. Like, whenever we do the next Crouch Fest or bring back Crouch Fest, like, it's the kind of thing, like, we should start with Crouch Fest and broaden it out. Like, get a referendum going for the whole country, then Europe, and then broaden it out. Like, it would be great if this podcast could somehow settle the debate.
When we do Crouch Fest, can you do that? You know that thing where you have the buzzer, like yes or no? Could we do like votes and stuff and just see how we go, from there.
Yeah, that's what it. Maybe start small just to test it out, see if it's doable. These are all good ideas. Lots of good ideas already in this podcast.
Yeah, we've got a slightly sidetracked there, boys, but in a good way. It's time we got down to the actual heart of this episode, which is centre forwards.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Right, boys, listen, I'm starting this pod off today because this is something that's dear to my heart. I'm fed up with this keepers union, defenders going for 70, 80 million, midfielders with the pre-assists and the assists and all this nonsense. Being a centre forward, being a striker is the toughest thing to be. Putting the ball in the back of the net is the hardest thing to do. And today on this podcast, I'm just going to prove to you why being a centre forward is the most difficult position. Listen, I've had plenty of centre forward strikers I've played with or played against over the years getting in touch with me because they know how important this is to us. Got a few voicemails here now. I'll see if I can play you a couple.
You have 11 new messages. First new message.
Crouchy, how are you doing? Alan Shearer here. Hope you're well. Why are strikers the most important players on the pitch? Well, all midfielders and defenders have all failed strikers anyway. What you find is they've tried to be a forward. They can't do it. They couldn't score goals, so they go further and further back. That's why the strikers cost the most. That's why the strikers get the most, because it's the most difficult thing to do. If you've got a forward that can put the ball on the back of the net, then you've got a chance. That's why strikers are the most important.
Yeah,
it's going to be quite a biased episode, this one. I get the impression.
Spoken like a true fullback.
Yeah.
Chris, does that mean we come in as anti-strikers here?
I'm interested to kind of maybe pick apart some of their points and some of their arguments one by one. It feels a very hard one to start with Alan Shearer, because who the hell can argue with Alan Shearer?
That's the
quite
thing,
a
Chris.
situation.
The man's got 260 goals in the Premier League. I mean, no one's got anywhere near it.
Shearer said defenders, midfielders, they basically weren't good enough to be strikers, so they move further back. You're digging out quite a lot of defenders at this point, aren't you?
Mm. Everyone wants to score goals, surely. I don't think, does anyone do you want to go into a crunching tackle more than you want to score the winning goal in the cup final? Would you rather save one off the line or be Jeff Hurst?
Yeah, I think we're going to struggle with this, Chris, because Crouchy's making a series of points that are impossible to argue with. Thanks, it's been a great episode, and we'll see you same time next week.
But listen, do you know what? Like, obviously, I am messing about. I want to go a bit serious now, because putting the ball in the back of the net it's what we watch, isn't it? You're not gonna take out the goals in a game and then still watch the game. On Match of the Day, they said, we haven't got any goals today.
No, but goals are on both ends. No, this is where it starts to fall apart, because goals are on both ends, aren't they? So I would say it's far easier for you guys because you get all the happy side, the easy fan-pleasing stuff. Real football fans love the industry and the hard working.
I don't disagree with that at all. Some of the best moments growing up and going to football matches was, the crunching tackle. When there's a big 50-50, there's a huge noise. There was nothing better. When you get up and you cheer a corner or a life-saving tackle or an amazing save. When your goalkeeper, you're 1-0 up in a relegation battle and your goalkeeper comes out and claims the ball in the 90th minute and then falls to the deck. As a football fan, that is spine tingling. It's almost as good as a goal, isn't it? You know, when your keeper comes out and takes that ball. And the reason there's no union, like there's a goalkeeping union, there's no strikers union, because strikers get paid back enough. You know, you don't need a union, because you get paid back in love by your fans when you score a goal. When when you score that goal, it's just the best feeling in the world. And on the flip side of that, you know, when you are not scoring, you live by the sword or die by the sword. You are there to be shot at.
Let's bring it back to Shearer then. So what's tricky about this as well is that I used to pretend to be Shearer in the garden and at school. Like I'd run down outside my parents' garden with my arm up. I'll always remember it. I also like sort of modelled myself on, this will make you laugh, but on Stuart Pearce. I was 9 years old and my football coach then would call me Psycho. I loved Stuart Pearce. I thought he was the best. And it's interesting that I could love both players sort of equally, you know?
Most cult heroes at football clubs are defenders.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, there's a case then.
No, they like put their heart on their sleeve, tackles, headers, the passion embodied, almost like a fan doing everything for his club.
I'm interested to know what you boys both think. What would Shearer be like as a defender?
Well, he scored, I think, 206 goals for Newcastle, and a quarter of those, 49-ish, were with his head. So he would be amazing in the air. But there's this lovely line when he was playing for Newcastle in the Champions League, I think in 2003, and they played Juve. Apparently, the Juve manager at the time, Marcello Lippi, made a video of Shearer, and he gave it to his strikers, David Trezeguet and Marcelo Salas, and went, "Boys, watch that. That's what a centre forward does."
Yeah, what a player. But his hold-up play, everything about it. I mean, we'll get into it. I mean, do you want me to go? Are we going deep into the role of the centre forward here?
Yeah.
You talk about, you know, the power, certainly of the strike and shot, but there's so many attributes to Alan Shearer's game that are impressive. There was a lot of pace. I mean, he was really quick when he looked so explosive. You know, he was strong. He didn't lose much in the air at all. And then the power he had to finish. He was the complete centre forward. And I think, yeah, of course, we all know how good Alan Shearer is, but I think sometimes we forget just how good he was.
If you were to try and construct the perfect striker for British football, you'd come up with Shearer.
What Alan Shearer did was be effective in every single game he played. You'd look and you'd always see Shearer score. Without doubt, every week he was banging them in, and it was just down to how good he was.
He's definitely a good representative in your union. I've got to admit, it's.
Well, I've started well on the old voicemail front there.
All right, Crouchy, fair enough. That was a good one. Who's your next voicemail?
I've got loads on here, mate. Look, let's see who this one is.
You have 10 new messages. First new message.
Morning, Crouchy. Teddy Sheringham here. I hear you're having a bit of a debate about whether the striker is the toughest position to play. Without a doubt, it's the toughest position. It's why the strikers get all the money, isn't it? You know that, mate. I've seen your bank balance. It's just one of those positions where all the pressure is. If you don't put the ball in the back of the net, your team don't win. When you score that goal, when you get that glory and you know that all your teammates and all your fans love you, there's no better feeling. That's why striker is the best position on the pitch. Speak to you later, mate.
I've gone all in on the SAS.
That's amazing.
You've had two strikers on there, and they've got no reason to be modest because of the achievements that they've both had. But there's real arrogance with strikers, isn't there? Teddy Sheringham, in his voice message there, he talked about two things that have rung true with what you've said: money and pressure. And it almost feels like he was connecting the two of them. It's almost, I suppose you could describe it as danger money. Like you have to deal with the most pressure, apparently.
If you're a defender, there's pressure on you to clean sheets, but it's a collective, isn't it? You know, like unless you're giving away goals left, right, and centre, do you know what I mean? You're not going to get the blame.
More pressure on a goalie.
Different ways of looking at it, isn't there? If you're a defender and you make a mistake and the ball's in your back of the net, you look, it's horrendous for you, isn't it? If you make a mistake as a forward, you know, you might lose the ball or something, and it's not going to be
but you miss a shot.
Game threatening.
You miss a shot. Okay, it's annoying, but people move on very quickly. Keeper misses a save, they get berated.
I know that when I've missed a chance, I missed the sitter. The next sort of few minutes, whatever, someone goes through on goal. When he scores it, your heart sinks and you think everyone's going to blame you. Oh, everyone talks about after we had chances, we didn't take them. That's why we lost. And then match of the day, it's like if they'd have taken their chances, and it all gets shown. But if you win 1-0, sometimes you get away with that not even being shown. That chance has just vanished into thin air.
Wow.
Only people who were at the match would have seen that and gone, and they're not even bothered because you've won the game. But the keeper, if he pulls one out, a save or something like that, you're just the first to congratulate them. You're just like,
but Tom, we're talking about pressure and money, right, being connected. My point is strikers on balance, as far as I understand it, are on more money than goalies.
Yeah.
But they deal with more pressure, really, don't they?
Well, the keepers deal with more pressure than...
The thing is about a keeper, there's only one keeper.
joking.
So, right.
You're joking.
No,
keeper's not pressurised position. If they let one in, it's just a good finish, isn't it?
And it's another wonderfully arrogant striker position to have, that when a keeper makes a mistake, it's actually just good striking rather than it being good finishing than it being a keeper that is letting in so many goals.
Well, unless he's thrown one in, do you know what I mean? But then
what about Karius in the Champions League final, 2018? He's made 2 big mistakes that have led to goals, and no one will ever forget that.
But like penalty shootouts, for instance, on the flip side of that, the pressure is all on the forward striking a penalty.
You expect keeper
it to
definitely,
and that pressure is with you. As a keeper, you're going to concede goals. That's part and parcel of football. You try your best. You're gonna concede goals. As a forward, there is pressure to score goals in every game.
Strikers get more headlines as well. That's another side of this, isn't it? It's like,
let's be honest, there's a hell of a lot of perks to being a centre forward or a striker, and probably less so with other positions.
There's a reason, Chris, isn't it, why strikers have fancier haircuts than goalkeepers?
And centre halves.
The
game's evolving now. It's sexier to be a centre half than it was 10 years ago.
You've got people who are technically defenders that, as a striker, you must feel the pressure when your sort of wing backs and that are getting more goals than you.
I think now, definitely. Like, I don't know if I'd like to be a forward in this sort of day and age where...
Really?
Well, like you say, it was sort of happening when I was towards the end of my career, where it's becoming more sort of acceptable for your main goal scorer to be basically a winger.
Yeah. How demasculating for you. Like, how
weird,
demoralising. It's yeah.
That hurts. It does.
What about we talked about that Torres moment. It's a bit weird when your new star signing turns up at the training ground and they're a centre back.
Yeah, but look at it now. Like Ruben Diaz at Man City, had such a massive impact on them. Virgil van Dijk, it's becoming fashionable to sign a centre half and win stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing far too many songs sung about defenders.
That's an interesting one. That never used to. The defenders never got sung about, did they?
Never.
That's such a good point.
Like if you go for a pie during the game, you don't know who's scored, but you hear the roar. You don't know if you have to break stride. You just wait for the song. And, it'd always be one of the strikers. If you didn't hear a song, you go, I must have been one of the defenders.
I've never thought of it like that. It's true.
I don't know if I ever told you this, boys, but I used to work on the football magazine Match. And when you stuck someone on the cover, that would have a big impact on sales. So you generally go for someone from one of the big clubs. I can't think of a single defender who made the cover.
And Giggs had a magazine at one point, which I used to buy. I think it was called Giggs, actually.
And, I think that was mainly aimed at the female market, I think, Chris.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I'm sure it was posters only, wasn't it? That
Tops off posters, a lot of it, wasn't it, in his trunks?
Because I know this because my mate, his sister was a little bit older. She was into Take That. She used to get the Giggs mag. Yeah. She was a big fan. There was posters all over her wall of Take That and Ryan Giggs.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well,
like, what was your thoughts on pictures of girls? Like, that for me, that was never a thing. Like, I never even thought about it.
Such a good one, man. I had a picture of Lara Croft, which is an imaginary character on my wall. Worse than that, it was 3D, so I had to put on red and blue glasses to be able to see
my God, mate. If your mum walked in on you and you had red and blue glasses on...
Give him 10 minutes.
Give him 10. He's got the 3Ds on.
3D glasses.
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
I think you're really putting the case forward for the striker today, Crouchy. And I think sometimes perhaps we could be guilty of oversimplifying the role of the striker as well. On Football Manager, there's 8 different ways that you can categorise a striker.
What's the 8?
Okay, so where should we kick off? Deep lying forward?
A deep lying forward. The link, are we talking like, can you not describe that as just a number 10?
Yeah, I think so. I think some of these are quite... Chris, do a couple more, and we'll see if there's a bit of blur in
advanced
between some of these.
forward.
I'd say an advanced forward would be someone who plays as advanced as possible, i.e. a goal hanger, or someone who plays on the shoulder of a defender like a Michael Owen.
Vardy?
Jamie Vardy, yeah.
Yeah.
Target man.
Calvert-Lewin, Chris Wood. Yeah, 2 good examples.
Where are we up to? False 9.
You know, Foden's played it for Man City a couple of times, and he's someone who's not traditionally a striker. It's usually a passing, footballing team that plays with a false 9.
Do you think the striker situation then, for the national team, the strikers union is slightly better than for club?
No.
No.
Worse.
You know, I got on with all the England strikers, like I did completely.
My perception of the strikers union, if it was to exist at a national level.
Chris, you could never have a strike. How could you have a strikers union? No, it's a load of bollocks. You couldn't have one. You couldn't have one. You know, we talked about rivals last week.
Yeah.
Within a squad, everyone wants to play. They say, "Oh yeah, there's a strikers union," and this. And that. There's not really. Like if you're, there is. If you know,
We've cracked him, Chris. That was the question that blew
If you
it
watch
open.
your keeper,
We got
if
there
you watch your keeper on the
eventually.
telly, the union always go, "Oh, you know, you should. Oh, don't be stupid. You know, it's a defender's fault." Everyone's passing the buck, and everyone wants to play.
But everyone who's playing for England is English, so therefore they would want England to do well.
Obviously, if I'm on the bench and I want the team to win the World Cup, but I don't want the striker to score.
Sorry? What?
I'd rather the midfielders score. Like I want us to win the World Cup. But if I'm sitting there on the bench being selfish, I want to play. You know, if it's 0-0 in the 90th minute, you know, and Emil Heskey's playing ahead of me, I'm not going to not want him to score because I want to go through to the next round. I want England. I'm an England fan like everyone else. But if we're 2-0 up and the forward hasn't scored,
Happy days.
great.
Crouchy, why does it work for a goalie? Why can they form a union and a striker can't then? Because there's the same rivalries.
If you're a goalkeeper, you're odd. And odd people form groups. You know, there's people out there, you know, Star Wars groups and Star Trek people. You know, Tom goes on his Lycra cycling coffee breaks, you know.
Exactly.
Say if I'm into, I don't know, I'm into stuffed giraffes.
The one you've got in front of you here.
This one here, right? If you go in on the internet and, you know, found out other people enjoyed that as well, you would form a group, wouldn't you?
About stuffed giraffes.
Let me just show you quickly what I'm dealing with. How can I spin this round?
What?
What the hell is going on?
It's like a stuffed toy zoo.
It's like Noah's Ark. Ab is just in too much at the moment.
Yeah.
Like everyone. And she's just staring at every room and redecorating in every way possible.
If Abby was to be a position on the pitch, right, would she be a striker, do you reckon?
That's a great question.
No, she wouldn't be. She's not selfish enough.
Got to say at this point that she's a keeper, right?
I think she'd be a creative midfield player.
Centre mid or out in the wings?
No, I think she'd be central, just in behind. Plenty of assists.
Would you make a good partnership on the pitch?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. Like I'm talking about being selfish here and I like to think I'm not a selfish person off the pitch.
No, you're not.
I think, you know,
no, but I get that. But nor's Abby, you know, a Premier League international football player. I found it interesting how you were reasoning out where she would play on the pitch with your football brain. Creative midfielder. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, but having said that, like I think she'd have a tough side to her. You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with her.
Perhaps the Paul Scholes kind of vibe. Couldn't get a tackle in and stuff, you know, like
she'd love a derby.
Yeah, leave a foot in, but then be creative and control a game.
people would say Clancy didn't mean that vicious challenge that has taken someone out of the knee. She's not that sort of player. And people inside the game would go, well,
Yeah, she's got it.
She does mean it. Yeah. It's in there.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
You have 9 new messages. First new message.
Big dog, how are you? It's Dion Dublin, mate. It's Diz. How's things with you? Hope you're well. About time then, mate, to be fair. Somebody had to say it. Somebody had to set the record straight. Of course, being centre forward is the hardest position. What were they thinking? You have to create. You've got to hold the ball. You've got to score goals. You've got to be creative. Defenders just destroy, just kick it away. Shout offside, head it, kick it. That's all they do. Crouchy centre forwards, mate. Cultured position, son. Cultured position. Chesting it down and bringing wingers into play, getting in the box, nodding it in the back of the net. Centre forward's the key. And Crouchy, love you lots. Centre forwards, man, that's how we roll.
You have 8 new messages. First new message.
Crouchy, all right, mate, Les Verdi here. Glad someone's setting the record straight on why striker is the hardest position to play. You can speak to any coach in the world, and any coach worth their weight in salt will always tell you the one place they can't teach people to do, the one thing they can't teach people to do is stick the ball in the back of the net. As much as they try, they can give them pointers, they can give them tips, but they can't teach them how to put the ball in the back of the net. You teach people how to save balls. I mean, you go to the default position, which is right back. Anyone can play that position. If you remember at school when you was a kid, if you couldn't play up front or in midfield, you went right back or left back. Easy position. Centre half, you just stop people. Centre forward, that's where the craft is, son. Good luck with it all.
That's where the craft is, son. I love that.
What I like about whatever you've managed to gather here, striker-wise, it's all people that you look up to.
Yeah, I mean, there's some serious goals on this voicemail list, by the way. Here you go, Shearer, Sheringham, Les Ferdinand, Dion Dublin. Like, there's some serious goals there, and yeah, they're all people I looked up to, and they're all people that I tried to take little parts of their game and incorporate into mine. Obviously, I was my own player, but the advice like Les used to give me a lot of the time was something that I sort of stuck by, really. And at Stoke, we signed Sino Berahino, and he had a difficult time. And you could see he was a finisher, he was a player, and he was having a difficult time. And a lot of the time, I was on the bench, sort of watching him and thinking like I could help. Like he was permanently out the box. And it was something that Les and Dion both said to me. Dion I played with later at Villa. If you can get into the box 100% of the time, and it's something that I prided myself on, certainly in the latter of part of my career. If I was in the box when a dangerous moment happened, if I missed one cross, I'd be fuming. It might not go to me, but if I wasn't in the box at that time, I'd be absolutely livid with myself. I looked at Sino Berahino when he was at Stoke, and it felt like he was always trying to score the perfect goal. It might happen, 1 in 10 times, but if you're permanently arriving sort of in between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box, or you're getting into the box, or you're making the correct runs, and you're around that area, you've got a much more chance, better chance of scoring. And that's the way I always looked at things.
Shearer always talks about he wanted crosses into the second 6-yard box, which I always love, that idea. If you take the existing 6-yard box and then stick another one on the end of it, that's where you want the ball in if you're a striker.
That became a phrase this season as well. That was something I'd never heard of until this season. Personally, I've noticed it sort of sneaking into the commentary.
Second 6-yard box.
I think Shearer did an article about it, actually.
I always think that simplifying a game, certainly for a young player, obviously we can get technical, and there's so many different parts of things we can get into about being a striker and what you have to do. But, you have to be in the box unless you're, Harry Kane scores a lot of goals from outside the box because, left and right foot, but that's abnormal. If you're a traditional centre forward, certainly a young player, and you want to get goals, it's like you have to be in the box. The goal that just gets your numbers up, the goal that is scruffy, that no one remembers, but they are so important to a forward. And everyone wants the clean goals, the volleys, or go past someone, curl one in from outside the box. They're your ones for your show reel. But as a centre forward, to win games, the bread and butter is being in the the second 6-yard box, in the 6-yard box. That's where the majority of my goals came from.
Chris, is an amazing line. You remember Pippo Inzaghi who was exactly as Crouchy's just described there. He would just always be in the 6-yard box. I can't remember like an amazing goal that Inzaghi ever scored. And there's an amazing snooty line from Johan Cruyff about Inzaghi, where Cruyff, who's obviously one of the most cultured footballers who ever played the game, says of Inzaghi, he can't actually play football at all. He's just always in the right place.
Yeah.
And it's just,
That's
he doesn't
interesting.
even realise what he's saying.
Are you saying that even just as a basic instruction, it can be as simple as just being in this second 6-yard box, just occupying that area, despite being marked?
Statistically, as a centre forward, if you want to score goals, the fundamental thing is be in the box when when it breaks, or when the through ball comes, or time your run to perfection. Just make sure you're in the box at 100% of the time, and there'll be so many scrappy goals.
Ruud van Nistelrooy scores 150 goals for Man United. He scores 1 goal from outside the box.
No.
Yeah, it's amazing, that stat.
Yeah, it's just I think you're right in what you're saying though. I think even at the most basic amateur level, you feel you need to be doing more. And actually it's actually a nice way to embrace it if you have Peter Crouch telling you actually that's quite a good move.
But the simple fact is that I've seen a lot of young players wanting to emulate their heroes that score beautiful goals. And you might get 2, 3, 4 pure goals, but I just think you'll get 6, 7, 8 scrappy, horrible ones, and that's surely better.
But was there a point in your head where you purposefully just went, maybe it was at a time where you weren't getting as many goals, you just changed it up and actually deployed that particular tactic?
No, as a young player, I was constantly doing a lot of work. Hold up play, and I was linking the play, and it was quite nice at times. I didn't score any goals. I equate that to my time at Liverpool as well, where I was sort of playing a different role under Rafa and playing slightly deeper and finding myself not in the box much. And I didn't score. I'm not the type of player. I'm not going to go and pick up the ball and beat 2 men and score from 30 yards. I scored, say, 108 Premier League goals. I can't remember many that I got out from outside the box. I just prided myself on the percentages of being in the box, and some of them were nice goals. Quite a few were I was pleased with. They were nice, clean contacts, or they were nice finishes. But quite often they were horrible, scrappy goals. And also, like follow in on every rebound. That's what I used to do. Like people that have a shot from outside the box, I'd follow in on every single rebound. You'd always be sniffing around, and it becomes instinctive if you do it for as long as what I did.
We're now just loving on strikers. I think what we should do, Crouch, is set you a challenge to now get 3 or 4 messages from defenders that you've either played with or, dare I say, looked up to. Would you ever say you look up to a defender?
Yeah, I mean, like Rio, Jonathan Woodgate, Michael Dawson.
That'd be great, wouldn't it, Tom?
Jamie Carragher, Sami Hyypiä, John Terry.
Sol at Portsmouth.
Sol, yeah. Sylvain Distin.
Terrible strikers, weren't they, though? That's the only reason they were good defenders.
Yeah, awful. I'm slightly doing this tongue-in-cheek, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. But that's why I think you've got 3 or 4 legendary strikers on this podcast. And yourself, Crouchy, of course. Sorry, I should say,
and, I'm a podcast host now. I don't think anyone remembers me play football.
But it would be, I think just for the sake of balance, we need a midfield union, defensive union, goalkeeping. Like, we could do this with a couple. It's
a great shout, Chris.
It leads to good chats, doesn't it?
I'd love to have a defender special and a midfielder special. That'd be great.
But we'll go away. We'll work on it. Maybe I can get someone on the pod or something like that, and to discuss the art of being something other than a striker.
Yeah, because it is an art. I'm still convinced.
Yeah.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Oh, boys, it's another good episode. Shall we get into a message from one of our listeners?
Yeah, big time.
Here we go. Message from Liam. Myself and 11 friends have a fantasy football league, and the forfeit for bottom place is to take a life-size cardboard cutout of Mark Noble out to dinner. They also have to put cardboard mark and address. The plan for the loser is to go for a fancy dinner in a London restaurant once lockdown restrictions have gone. That is incredible. I've never heard of anything like this being done before.
They've got to take Mark Noble out for dinner. But is it just
Cardboard
them
Mark Noble.
two?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's the
that's
loser
awesome.
of the league
That's amazing.
booking a restaurant and turning up with a cardboard cutout of Mark Noble in a dress.
I seriously, like, the thing is, the lads are going to want to, like, be there, aren't they?
Yeah,
Like, surely they should book a lads' table over the other side of the room, pretend they're not with him, and just watch it unfold. One plus point is you could have a paella.
Yeah.
That's what you should, Liam. Listen, what we want to do when this finally happens, that is the new part of the deal. It has to be a paella for two.
Have you made any stupid bets? Because I have. When we were at Stoke, we had a big one. We had, like, at Stoke, we kept it interesting. So I bought these absolutely amazing shoes, ballet shoes, and then they were really strappy and they went all the way up to your knee.
They go round the calf.
Yeah, around the calf. You had to wear them, so they were like plimsolls with them, and you had to wear them with your tracksuit on away games. That's if you were bottom that week on the Fantasy League. And then if you were bottom at Christmas, you had to pay for the whole Christmas do.
What, do you mean this was fantasy football?
Yeah, fantasy football. Yeah, so we had a league at Stoke, and we did that.
Did you pick yourself?
I picked myself a couple of times, and I definitely drafted myself in when I knew I was playing.
I think what we need to do, Liam, is I'm really keen to see the progress of your particular league. So maybe like you can add me in or something on your fantasy football league, and I can just lurk there and watch, and then maybe we can just follow through. I'd like us to cover some of the forfeits that happen at the end of the fantasy football season, the end of the football season. We should cover a few on this podcast, I think. I suppose as well we should do a little update on our race. I think it is a race. We're each trying to track someone down. I'm trying to track down Elton John. I've got not too much to report there, but I'll work on that. Crouchy, you've got...
Yeah, I Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. I spoke to Steve McManaman recently, one of the games, and he seems to think that he's abroad. Anyway, he's proving very difficult to get hold of. Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, so you stuck a picture, Crouchy, in our group of the North Korean embassy in Ealing. They are very much within the potential delivery area of the Samrat.
Oh, mate, it's mental. The picture you put up, it's like a semi-detached in Ealing.
They must have had a letter through the door.
Like it.
It's right, yeah.
They'll have had a Samrat flyer through the door, wouldn't they?
Probably, yeah.
You know all the other embassies are these grand buildings in London. Like, why have they gone like...
Why have they gone for sexual leaving?
I mean, I sort of respect it in a weird kind of way. They've gone, fuck that. We're going to Ealing.
You can walk to Jono's from there, the old Irish pub that we used to go to at QPR. They've got Nando's round the corner, lovely Harvester, right on the park. Makes a lot of sense.
Does really? Why would you want to be in Mayfair?
So what are you going to do, Tom, about that situation? Are you going to try and make contact? Are you going to write a letter? Like, what's the best plan here?
I think that's the thing to do, Chris. I think that's a good idea. Maybe if I pen a letter, Crouchy, your dad or Herman can print it off, chop it round.
No worries, mate. No worries at all.
Perfect.
Well, if Mr. Islam's dropping the flyers off, I'll just get him to drop the letter in. No worries.
Elton John. I mean, it feels bad to feels weird saying it in the same breath as him, but I need to double down there. I think I'm not too sure.
Well, you must have a sniff there. Being you've got
that's
the
what I
Watford
think.
Training jacket on today. There must be an in.
I think you'd love this podcast. I'd happily say to you if I've got an in with Kim Jong-un that I would pass it on, but I've got nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
Same with Ronaldo, I just
I have done. I've got ins at the North Korean embassy, and I'm happy to offer them off. I'd love Kim on the show.
Is his first name Kim?
That's what I'm not sure about. I think to get him on the pod, we'd have to call him Supreme Leader.
So not Mr.
Where do I address the letter? That's a key point.
We should get him a shirt made, shouldn't we? Like,
that'd be the cheapest shirt on record. 7.
What about 1?
1. It's like a young French goalkeeper.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Okay, boys, you know how we offer a chance on every podcast for someone to come on and tell everyone listening about a show they're doing or a podcast that they're on? We're going to do that this week, but we're going to do something slightly different because we've got heavyweight boxer Dillian White here to sell his own fight. Dillian, hello.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready.
What happens in a week before a fight, Crouchy? Because we've never been in Dillian's situation, have we? So how do you count down the days, Dillian, before the actual first bell goes?
The last week is a funny one because it's the most crucial week, to be honest, because you still have to stay busy and active, but be careful of injury or overtraining or exerting yourself too much. It's the worst week for me, to be honest.
Crouchy, do you know what I want to know from Dillian, right? There's something that you and I will never want to happen to us, but, it will happen to Dillian in probably every fight he does. Dillian, what's it like being smacked in the chops by a heavyweight boxer?
I can arrange that for you if you want.
No, thanks.
It's easily arranged. Just send me an address.
Tom lives in Knutsford, Dillian. Tom lives in Knutsford.
Judas.
The concept and the feeling of it for me would be different from it is for you because obviously I'm trained in that profession. Obviously, my neck's a lot bigger than a normal person's neck. My shoulders are stronger. My legs are stronger. I'm prepared for that. I'm trained and I'm prepared for that. So it would be different for me getting punched by an heavyweight than a normal guy getting punched. So it's very difficult to explain,
But do you know what? Like, I've been doing a bit of boxing training myself. I've got a long reach, but I'm not sure there's enough power behind it. I didn't realise until I started doing boxing how technical it is, like how much there is to it.
The rewards is amazing. Is that every week, like you learn something different or you do something a bit faster, a bit better, and you're just thinking, wow, okay. It's one of the sports that you can see the improvements so fast and so much. It's like, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? That's what got me hooked when I first started. It's just improving and catching up to people that you first go to the gym, you see these guys, you think, wow, these guys are so good. And then 2-3 months later, you're thinking, okay, he was good, but, I can do a couple of rounds of him. It's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because I feel like I'm keeping fit. Obviously, that was the main focus.
Yes.
But, I've learned a new skill.
I think one of our favourite things about any boxing match is the walk-ons. Like on this podcast, we've spoken about walk-ons a fair bit. Crouchy loves a walk-on. But Dillian, what's it like for you? What goes into deciding a walk-on, music, and how is it for you?
It depends. Like for me, like I try and have a song that the fans can relate to. Obviously, I try and have a certain entrance music that people of all ages can relate to and vibe to and get the crowd behind you and stuff. And obviously I have my own theme and stuff, obviously my tune is AC/DC Back in Black, but it's said it with Jaws at the start of it, so it builds the intensity. Sport is about skill and technique and everything, but also the entertainment side is very important as well, because you can be the greatest footballer, the greatest boxer, greatest cricketer, greatest whatever, but if you haven't got personality, then it's a bit dry, you know what I mean? You just so this is about having that entertainment factor. I just relating to people, it's lots of things, man. It's lots of things, but you have to get it right for sure.
Listen, Dillian, it's been great having you on because we've had people sell podcasts before, haven't we, Crouchy? But we've never had someone sell a heavyweight fight. You can get commentary of Dillian's fight against Alexander Povetkin on 5 Live on Saturday evening, home of boxing on the radio with marvellous Mike Costello and Steve Bunty Bunce. They also do a podcast every week, which is perfect if you're into your boxing or you want to know a little bit more about it, so you can impress your friends ahead of the big fight.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts. Video podcasts. Video podcasts. Video podcasts. Video podcasts. Video podcasts.